Okay, welcome everybody. I am going to start sharing my screen. Welcome to Coaching Agile Journeys. This is the last in the Open Leadership series, and I'm super excited. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. So Niels Pflaeging here, coming to us from Frankfurt today. We've already had the first 3 series, and of course you can go back and look at those at coachingagilejourneys.com/openleadership and catch the recording there as well. So Niels actually joined Beyond Budgeting as a director in 2003, and he's founded BetaCodex, pioneered approaches like org physics, changes flipping, complexity, OpenSpace Beta, collaborated with Daniel Mezek on some of those things. So we've heard a lot about Niels and his work. Niels will be presenting at the Open Leadership Symposium in Boston, and I'll be there. Daniel will be there. On our podcast, we interviewed Doug Kirkpatrick. So I encourage you to listen to our podcast and learn more about the Open Leadership Symposium and what it's all about at openleadershipnetwork.com. So really, really hope to see you there. If you will be there, please feel free to ping it in the chat. I'd love to know if I get to see you there. So if this is your first time at Coaching Agile Journeys, we just want to share that we're a group of volunteers, and we do this on our own time because we love helping others and giving back and finding topics that help guide development and everybody who's along their Agile journey. And we support the open movement, and you'll be hearing more and more about this as we go along. So the idea of not imposing practices, but inviting people, and that's why we have people like Niels here to share their point of view with us as well. Please follow us on Twitter at CoachingAgileJO. Find us at coachingagilejourneys.com. We have a YouTube channel. Look for our faces online here. Hopefully you'll recognize one of our smiling faces during this chat. That was an extra slide. Please consider supporting us if Coaching Agile Journeys has made a difference in your life. We do all this time on our own. We do all these events on our own time and money, so we can keep them free for everyone. Just one more brief comment before we get going. Coming up next is Why Width Matters with Colleen Johnson. So after this, please go to the website and sign up for Colleen Johnson's session coming May 20th. But right now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I am going to go back to focusing on Niels. And I'm going to actually start off by asking you a question. So the title of this is like open transformation, and it could be done in really, really fast. So I just want to know if it's the transformations that I've been a part of have been years in the making. I would say 2 to 5 years, and none of them were really super successful. So when you say very fast organizational transformation, is that just a marketing gimmick? Like, tell us how that's going to happen.
Hear me right? Let's see. I think not. All right. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Give me a sign. Good. So is this just a marketing hint or a gimmick when I say that super fast, very fast organizational transformation is possible?
I think
I'll mute this here. I think what happened over the last years or so is that everybody's talking about transformation, but I'm not sure if we really did it already. So I think everybody talks of we're doing agile, we are doing transformation, but we've not actually done it. And that sounds worrisome, or it may sound frustrating for us. I mean, I've been in this business for 15 years, and I have to admit that organizational transformation has not occurred every time that I've gone into a project. So the frustrating bit might be, okay, it doesn't always work, and we've been frustrated over the last years or decades, or how long we have been in the business. The good news is that it's much, that transformation is possible if we use the right method, and none of us has really done it well in the past. And I personally, last year, about exactly 1 year ago, we stumbled across the work of by Daniel Mezek, which came like a shock to us. This stuff that he calls OpenSpace agility, where you begin in open space and end in open space with roughly 90 days in between. And this dude, Daniel Mezek, who most of you, I think, have heard of or have seen on this podcast, he just, I think, found the missing piece in how to make transformation possible. That is to time box it, to do it purely by invitation, not by imposition. And what we already had was the model to move to, which is in our case not, on the case that I'm promoting, it's not Agile, it's not Scrum. The model that I'm talking about is something beyond command and control. It's a different way of organizing, which we call Beta. And in a way, Beta, or the BetaCodex organizational model, as we call it, it has been somewhat elusive in the past because we didn't know how to get there fast. And with Daniel's little insight and little nudge, now it has become available to all. We call it OpenSpace Beta. You can check it out on openspacebeta.com. You can check out more on BetaCodex.org on the website betacodex.org. But the point here that I want to make right at the start is that, okay, we are all losers. We haven't done it in the past, but we can do it in the future if we apply the right principles and methods.
So the idea would be to use the BetaCodex principles and some of the open space agility ideas to make this open beta. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and a bit more, but that's the basic package. The basic package is you need to be principled. You need to apply principles, which may be the principles from the Agile Manifesto or the principles that are embedded in the Scrum Guide. But we think that those principles are the problem. What's the problem with Agile, I think? And this is a thought that I would like to share in this context of this specific session here. I mean, most of you, all of you are Agilists, but one of the worrisome questions that we are facing right now in the Agile movement is, are the Agile principles complete enough? I doubt that. Yeah. I think the Agile principles are excellent for software development, but they're not excellent enough, not complete enough. The set of principles in the Scrum Guide or the Agile Manifesto is not full or rich enough to transform entire organizations. There are obvious pieces missing, like what do we do with compensation systems, pay systems? What do we do with targets? How do we deal with stuff like strategy or organizational planning and stuff? None of this is covered in the Agile movement, which is why I advocate to broaden the Agile principles into what might resemble, or what is the BetaCodex, as we call it, a broader set of principles, very coherent with self-organization, totally about self-organization, but broader than the Agile Manifesto.
So let's say we have a company and I want to get started tomorrow. What would you suggest would be the first thing I could get started? What would be the first thing you suggest? So I have let's imagine I have your book. I'm kind of ready to get started. What's next?
That's I'm not even sure. I mean, the question is good, but I'm not sure if I want to answer it, because this question about first steps, it leads us in the wrong direction.
Okay.
Preconditions to transformation, as in OpenSpace Beta, the concept that we developed, or even in OpenSpace Agility, which Daniel Mezek developed and which OpenSpace Beta is based upon. Obviously, one of the preconditions to get going and do it very fast is that you have to have somebody in the organization, or some people in the organization, who really, really want it. The transformation. I mean, they must really, really want Agile principles or BetaCodex principles or Scrum Guide principles. So without really, really wanting it, nothing will ever happen. It cannot work. You will never transform if you do not really, really want that different set of principles. Yes.
You know what? That is
one of the preconditions.
I really love what you said, because that's what Harrison Owen said as well for OpenSpace. You have to really, really want it. And he basically tells people, you're not ready for this yet. And he says, no, you're not ready for this. But I guess when you are ready, you're really, really ready. There is a question. Can you use, let's say I want to start this OpenSpace Beta. What if we're already midstream in our transformation somehow? Could we use it to correct our course? Or if we're already started along the path, would we just pick up where we are at right now and then start to do some of these principles?
Not sure if I totally understood the question. Was it about doing half of it?
No. Let's say we are 2 years into our Agile transformation. Hasn't really been giving us the results that we want. Now we really, really want to try something new. Could we then pick up where we're at with some of these principles?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, this is something that both Daniel Mezig and I firmly advocate. Of course, you can start anywhere you are. There is no turning back the clock or jumping ahead. Very fast organizational transformation means you recognize what you have and what's bad about it, what's good about it and what's bad about it. If there's nothing you find bad about it, why transform at all? So you need to acknowledge that something is not right, not as good as it should be and could be. And you must really, really want that different kind of approach or model or principle. It's about acknowledging we are in a mess or we have trouble. That's one of the other basic starting points. You must really, really want the better, the different world, be it Agile or Beta, and you must acknowledge that you are not there and you are in a mess. Now, the mess may not be that the company is bankrupt, but it's a mess. There must be suffering, and there's, and I like to say, in command and control, or call it waterfall, or call it management with social technology, there's always suffering. So acknowledging that is another condition. And then, of course, how does the mechanic of transformation work in what Daniel Mezig and us developed OpenSpace Beta promote? It is, let's time box the transformation, start in OpenSpace, and in OpenSpace 19 days in between, and let's invite everything, but never, 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 ever impose anything upon us. Let's invite everybody at once, but which can mean tens of thousands of people ultimately, start in OpenSpace and in OpenSpace with 90 days in between. Did I say 90 minutes? It would be too fast. 90 days.
Got it. So someone asked this question: what if people don't take you up on your invitation, but your organization needs to change?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it leads to, if it's necessary, we must force or bribe them, right? But let's turn the question around. Let's imagine that you have a sponsor who really, really wants Agile or Beta. I would prefer Beta because it's just perfect for entire organizations, not as limited as the Agile principles, which are basically or were basically developed for software development. So let's imagine, okay, you have a sponsor who really, really wants this, and invites everyone to join the first OpenSpace. Yeah. The sponsor writes and sends an invitation, defining the topic, defining the mess, or describing the mess, and hinting at what the principles, or outlining the principles of what should be accomplished. Now, the question is, if you assume that people would not accept the invitation, what does it mean about, what does it say about either the sponsor as a person, or the quality of the invitation, or the organization as a whole? Or, I mean, what does it say? And I firmly believe that everybody wants Beta, everybody wants Agile. The problem is that if we don't follow through with acting by invitation, not by imposition, we will never get there. So there's no way around being firm believers in that everybody wants Beta or Agile. Everybody will want to accept the invitation if the invitation is well crafted, if it's right. And then there is a beautiful thing that you probably discussed with Harrison Owen. I didn't see the full session. Harrison Owen always said this beautiful and very important thing: those who come to the open space are the right people. And that is key to very fast organizational transformation. Those who come are the right people. The others don't have to be there.
Right. So let me look at the questions here. Someone is asking, does desire in the organization, so let's say you have a lot of desire in the organization, does it need to come from a certain level to be effective, like an executive or a manager? So you're inviting everybody. How does that work?
Yes, that's one of the key things that we got from got from Daniel Mazik's OpenSpace Agility. Of course, if you begin in OpenSpace and end with an OpenSpace with 90 days in between, where you do the let's say the core of the transformational work together with everyone in the organization, ideally with everyone who accepted the invitation anyways. If you want to do this, the question is who in the organization can actually invite everybody to join the first OpenSpace. There usually an organization only has 1 or 2 or 3 people who could do that, who would have the right to invite everyone to the first OpenSpace. So you need this role, somebody has to pick up this role of the sponsor. A couple of months ago, I talked to senior management in an energy company, 10,000 people, and in the room we had this woman, and she said, well, the only person who can do that is me. So I would have to be the sponsor. And it's that simple.
That makes sense. Okay, so someone is asking, can you give an example of very fast organizational transformation, and what's the difference to another organizational transformation? So how are you distinguishing very fast and the other kind?
Yes, how do you distinguish very fast organizational transformation? To me, very fast organizational transformation is something that happens within 18 months. That's fast for me. 1.5 years or 70-something weeks. That would be very fast. If it's not 1.5 years or more than 2 years, then it's not fast. It's very slow, and it will never work. The point with very fast is not it's not a marketing joke. If we are talking about transformation, it would mean to depart from one set of principles, organizational principles, like waterfall principles, for example, lots of planning and stuff, to a different set of principles. That is transformation as well. That's the precondition. It must be from a set of principles, or call it a mindset, an idea, a notion, a philosophy, a dogma of organizing, to another. From waterfall to agile, from alpha, as we call it, to beta, from command and control to decentralized, networked organization. So transformation is, content-wise, is this moving from one to the other. And time-wise, it means it cannot, this transformation from here to there, it cannot take 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. As we know from the Agile movement, you cannot develop a software in 7 years. It doesn't work like that. You have to be iterative then. If it's a big chunk of software, you must iterate to get somewhere. And with transformation, it's even more dramatic. People's minds are bent around the organizational principles. We cannot have one model, command and control, and sense and respond at the same time. We cannot people in the organizations, people at work, they cannot live in this kind of schizophrenic state for a long time. So we have to do transformation fast. Yeah. So it needs to be principled. Women must move to different principles, and it must be fast. Fast meaning 1.5 years, sounds good. OpenSpace Beta works in 90 days, as we say, but with the 90 days, we mean a type of iteration, first iteration or first chapter of the transformation.
Mm-hmm. So I actually have a question, and that was around like the idea of transformation, because in my mind, transformation is never really complete. But I'm just wondering whether in your model, you mean a transformation is complete when the mindset shift is complete, or how do you describe when that transformation is complete?
Transformation is ever complete, that's correct. It would be silly to say transformation is complete. No organization is ever complete. The human body is never complete. We age. So can I say strong words here in this podcast?
You can say
a strong word.
It's an open forum. Yeah.
Fuck completeness. It has never existed. It doesn't exist, you know. Completeness is just a wrong idea about the whole thing. Of course, it's never complete. let's assume you want to get to Agile. That's never complete, of course, and it's never, there is no end to reach, because organizations are living systems. However, if after 18 months start doing this kind of transformational work, let's say from waterfall to Agile, you cannot truthfully say, we are pretty much Agile now. We have pretty much removed the worst of waterfall issues and practices and principles and nonsense. We have removed the worst barriers, and we all, as an organization, we think we have learned a thing or two. We have more than put our foot into this, and now we can do still more, and we can still remove barriers. But it's that kind of following Agile principles. If you cannot say that after 18 months into transforming, then something's very, very wrong as well.
Makes sense. So someone was asking, how does an org restart its journey utilizing OpenSpace? And I think you may have answered that earlier, but would it be simply just starting with the invitation? How would you recommend, would it be?
Yes, but let me be provocative. I don't think that many organizations have agility, even in software development. I think most companies I see, and this is not just in Germany, I'm not here in Germany, but I've seen organizations everywhere in the world, on all continents, and I don't see many organizations that have achieved real software development agility, Agile in the sense of Agile manifesto. I mean, we are faking it. We are doing some Scrum stuff, bits and pieces, or 20% Scrum. But that's not real Scrum. That's just, I mean, there's a lot of bullshit involved. Armies of Agile coaches, which is, of course, Agile coaches may be considered part of the problem, just as consultants like myself are part of the problem. So we sustain an illusion of agility. It's very costly. It's not what we really wanted to achieve, I think, in terms of self-organization. So my hypothesis is we really have to get going doing Agile, full-fledged agility or full-fledged organizational transformation. We still have to get going. And most organizations still have to start. I mean, we fiddled around a little bit with a little bit of self-organization, a little bit of agility, a little bit of, I come from the beyond budgeting movement. Many organizations have fiddled with their performance processes. That's not enough. That's not transformation. So let's do it full Monty, full scale. And that's the call. I think that Daniel Mesick and I, and also Harrison Owen, what we're suggesting is, let's do real self-organization. Let's create really high-performing, decentralized, networked, agile organizations.
I think that leads perfectly.
Haven't even started.
Yes. Yeah, we see a lot of surface-level agility for sure, or surface-level agile, I should say. This is a perfect segue to the next question. How does the organizational hierarchy play into this open space and transformation? Do we need to rethink organizational design altogether?
We have. I think this is a very nice question. Not sure who asked it, but this is, to me, it's a very nice question. Because I think the Agile movement has had a blatant blind spot in that. I mean, we have been blind to organization. The Agile movement has been blind to organizational design, how to move away from hierarchy and command and control, it's impossible to abolish hierarchy. Let's get this straight. Hierarchy is needed to produce compliance, organizational compliance. So hierarchy is not something that we want to get rid of, but we have to make it unimportant. We have to limit managers' authority to working on compliance and do very specific things, but not steer the work, not command and control everyone, not to micromanagement the work. And that's, of course, what's still happening in almost all organizations today. Lots of micromanagement, lots of steering, lots of command and control, which is also stifling agile software development, of course. So the challenge is how to get away from fixation or over accentuation of hierarchy and formal structure. And the work that we've been done, we call it org physics. In the BetaCodex, there's a lot about that, about how to decentralize decision making, to use in periphery, how to even distinguish between center and periphery, and to decentralize decision making to an organization's periphery. We call this the Peach model of organizing, or the Beta model of organizing is about decentralizing decision making to the periphery. And we have created many concepts which you can look at on betacodex.org around this. Among them, org physics, or value creation structure as a concept, which is paramount, I think, for us to proceed with making organizations more agile.
So when you talk about value creation structure, do you think that this could be done inside of a division? Let's say the whole company is not ready, but do you think this could happen just inside one division or one part of the organization?
Who's asking that? Is that you, Heidi?
This is me asking, yes.
Okay, good, because then I will respond to, in a very direct way. You asked about doing this in a division because the organization is not yet ready, right?
Yeah, the entire organization is not ready. So could you do it in a division?
Okay. Yeah, but what does that mean that the organization isn't ready? This is the way I talk to my clients and that I talk to the world, not just to you right at this moment.
Yeah.
One of the key myths of organizational development, of leadership, of management, of business. One of the key problems, one of the key points, what's holding us back from really transforming toward agile or better organizations, is that we believe that something is not ready. Either people are not ready, managers are not ready, divisions are not ready, companies aren't ready. And I would offer the opposite hypothesis. Let's put it like a hypothesis, but to me it's a fact. Okay, everybody wants beta. Everybody wants agility. We just do not have a clue how to do it. I mean, most people don't have a clue because we've been so miserable at communicating things like OpenSpace agility, OpenSpace beta. Even OpenSpace is badly promoted, has been badly promoted, badly communicated, badly marketed in a way. So people don't know the method how to get there. But one of the key responses that I can, or key replies that I can give to the question is, of course, we shouldn't do it by divisions. We shouldn't do experiments. We just shouldn't do pilots. Stop the fucking piloting. Let's get to full-fledged organizational transformation for all. Because what I always like to ask is, who the hell deserves alpha or command and control, or who deserves waterfall? Show me the person who deserves waterfall or command and control or bullshit centralized steering. Nobody. So we have to liberate. It's like going to a country and saying, well, democracy is not for all here. It's just for a tiny fraction of people, and the others deserve fascism or communism or whatever horrible governance you could, authoritarian regime. So I think we should, and that's what I mentioned earlier when we talked about really wanting it. If you really want it, you want it for everyone, right? You wouldn't want to leave anybody behind. And that's the idea. And of course, it's, I get that what's behind the question. Behind the question is part of I think the motive of the kind of question, can we do it in certain divisions, in departments and teams and functions, slicing and dicing, as we call it. Transformational slicing and dicing. It will never work. But part of the motive of the question is that we think that transforming larger or parts of chunks of the organization will be slower or more difficult. And that simply isn't the case. Transforming the full organization, an entire organization, is much easier than to force or bribe people into Scrum or Agile.
Thank you for that. If I have another,
it's a very good question.
I have another question too, though. What is the tipping point to decide on transformation? So let's say you want to send out an invitation, but right, what's the tipping point? How do you decide whether or not we're ready to receive the invitation?
Now I will use a trick that I have learned a couple of years ago. You know, some questions, there is no right answer to it. We call those questions a wrong question. And what I just heard is a wrong question. It's not a bad question. I don't mean to insult anybody. But this question is wrong in the sense that there is no right answer to it. What is the tipping point to? No, there's no tipping point. In very fast organizational transformation, if you really, really want it, and you follow through the principles of basing it on invitation alone, not imposition, time boxing it, inviting everyone at once, and have a set of principles to move to, like the Agile Manifesto or Beta, you don't need a tipping point. You just do it with everyone. And I know it sounds strange and odd and impossible maybe, but that's what very fast organizational transformation is about.
So, thank you. So this is just a Heidi question and observation on that. Let's say that the invitation went out and the response to the invitation wasn't what you thought. Would this just be a point of reflection and feedback for you at that point? Is that how you would take it?
Yes, that's a classic tool, a classic question I get. Daniel Mesick just wrote that I'm charming like Trump. Very Trump? Does he mean me? I'm not sure. That's not Daniel. What's wrong? Charming like Trump. Okay, I hope not to be anything like that. Okay, I would just ignore that because I consider him a friend. So why would he do that? What was the question again? Let's imagine the sponsor sent the invitation, and it's a real invitation, so it can be declined or accepted. So it's a real invitation. It was sent by the sponsor, a person capable of inviting everyone to the first open space, and somebody who really, really wanted and can express so in the invitation. Given all that, it would be surprising if not many people would accept the invitation. However, if not many people accept the invitation, they are still the right people according to OpenSpace thinking. I heard this question, of course, since we developed OpenSpace Beta over the course of last year, 2018. I have heard this question: oh, what if nobody accepts the invitation? If nobody comes to the first OpenSpace, which we call OS1 or the OpenSpace 1 meeting, and my answer is that, well, what if few people accept the invitation? We did something wrong. The sponsor wrote a lousy invitation. Something was wrong. And of course, there are many in OpenSpace Beta as in OpenSpace Agility. There are several safeguards to guarantee that the OpenSpace theme will be well articulated. The invitation will be well articulated, well framed, and so on. So there are certain practices or certain methods that you should apply. There's also a key method in OpenSpace Agility and in OpenSpace Beta, which is you need a master of ceremonies who jokingly we call this role. It is really a role in OpenSpace Agility and in OpenSpace Beta. We call this the process Gandalf. This is for the nerds. Gandalf in John Ronald R. Tolkien's stories, he is not the sponsor or the owner of the journey. He just safeguards the rite of passage, and you need this kind of master of ceremonies to do everything right. I mean, the sponsor and the organization needs some kind of Gandalf, a sidekick, so to say, or just a guardian of the process, of the ritual, or the rite of passage that is OpenSpace Beta in this case. So a master of ceremonies takes care that everything is well articulated. The invitation is well articulated. There is a theme for the open space. The open space is well facilitated. All of that, you need guidance. You need somebody who not only understands the end of it, Agile or Beta, but who also can safeguard the rite of passage. And that is why This is a bit more tricky than just beginning in OpenSpace and ending in OpenSpace with 90 days in between. There's a lot more to it. To get the method right, you need a bit more. We wrote it all down in handbooks. Daniel Mezek wrote a handbook about, and colleagues, they wrote a handbook about OpenSpace Agility. We wrote a handbook about OpenSpace Beta. Silke and I did so last year. So, and we also articulated the concept in a kind of a timeline or a conceptual overview. So there's a lot of material that you find online or in our handbooks about this. To make it fast, you must be disciplined in following through a robust rite of passage. And that is not so simple. That's not trivial.
Okay. I love the process Gandalf. I had not heard that before. I really like the analogy there.
Yes. I mean, again, many of these ideas, we found them in Daniel Mezek's work, who called me Trump in this session. I'm not sure why, but okay. Charming as Trump. So many of these ideas, we found them in Daniel Mezek's work, but we added a few, not just wording or words or snippets like process Gandalf and so on, but also we added some conceptual ideas to OpenSpace Beta that clearly distinguish it from OpenSpace Agility. And for those who really want to approach very fast organizational transformation, it might be valuable to look into the two concepts as well and take a look at what they have in common and what distinguishes them.
Thank you. Someone is asking, what is your opinion on the bystander effect? No one does anything because they think someone else will. How do you get over this when transforming?
Oh, that's a great question. The bystander effect, I think it's a logical byproduct of change management. Change management traditionally, or planned change, as we have all experienced it, I'm sure, it naturally creates almost just bystanding. Everybody's a bystander. Nobody's really responsible. Nobody acts responsibly. The problem of imposed change or planned change. So the only answer that I can give is in the white paper that we gave the session title on, which is called Very Fast Organizational Secrets to Very Fast Organizational Transformation. We outline a set of principles to this stuff, OpenSpace Agility and OpenSpace Beta, and how OpenSpace comes into play and all that. And one might say that the whole thing, OpenSpace Agility, OpenSpace Beta, the whole stuff is designed to increase engagement, to do organizational transformation in a extremely self-organized way from moment one, from the beginning, always, and to sustain the principles of self-organization throughout the change process, so to say. So different than change management, where you usually have command and control organization, and you do change with command and control stuff, imposing, forcing, bribing people into the change, and so steering the change, planning the change, all that shit. Sorry. The whole thing that I'm describing, or that Daniel Mezek is describing, or what Harrison Owen is describing, it turns the whole logic upside down by unleashing the forces of self-organization right from the beginning. So everyone who's there is the right people. It's time boxed. It's by invitation, not by imposition. So the bystander effect it cannot really happen. It is impossible in open space for a bystander effect to happen because bystanding isn't part of open space. Open space is like a big coffee break, as Owen sometimes says, and in a way, OpenSpace Beta and OpenSpace Agility are transformation by coffee break, by extended 90-day coffee break. So it's not a good metaphor. No bystanding. Yeah, if the energy throughout the rite of passage that is OpenSpace Beta should be low, then one should ask, okay, what did we do wrong? How did we destroy the high level of energy that should be there? Did we not follow through on the method? What's wrong about our process? But bystanding is impossible if everybody is there by invitation and is voluntarily there and accepts the invitation actively.
Thank you. And someone else had this question related to change fatigue. So the question was, how do you approach change fatigue, especially when the executives believe that change is good and needs to go on? So is your opinion that if people are self-selecting into the change, then they won't get change fatigue, or how do you handle that, because change is still happening at a rapid pace?
Not sure if I understand the question.
So
the question reminds me of when, yeah, yes.
So this is talking about very fast organizational transformation, but people also get change fatigue. So how do you, are you basically saying that the process of inviting people and self-organizing and engagement will turn off the change fatigue in people?
That it will turn off the change?
That people will not have fatigue if they are electing into the process. Is that what you're saying?
The idea of change by invitation or transformation by invitation that we promote, both Daniel Mazek and I, or us, as in open leadership that we're talking about, that we all promote, is that those who accept the invitation are the right people, and let's see the amount of energy throughout the rite of passage or the change process, if you might want to call it like that. The level of engagement, if you follow through with invitation and time boxing it and everything, and people being there voluntarily, is exactly the level of energy you deserve. So if you don't get much energy out of it, out of very fast organizational transformation, if you think it sucks, the level of energy or engagement is low, then you must have done something really, really wrong in the past. Yeah. But within the rite of passage, if you time box it correctly, you have all the means to unleash energy for transformation. Also, you need the principles of, let's say, Agile or Beta to show everyone what this is all about at all times. You can always say, okay, this is about the Agile principles. This is about the principles of Beta. This is what we do. This is not for fun. We do the transformation exactly around this reliable set of principles, which does not change every year or every 6 months. And it's not commercially driven either. It's just the necessary principles for self-organization in either Agile software development or in Agile organizations. So you should unleash engagement like that. That's the basic premise, let's say, of very fast organization. Invite everyone, time box it, do it by invitation, have principles in which to move. But what I can tell you is that this stuff does not work just because Agile principles, as we all know, the Agile principles alone, for example, are not enough. I had to learn this the hard way when I joined the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable 15 years ago. That was 16 years ago now. When I joined the Beyond Budgeting movement, I still thought, oh, we just have to teach the principles of the Beyond Budgeting model, what we call now the BetaCodex principles, in a modified way. But I thought we just have to show everyone how command and control sucks and create a sense of urgency, according to John Cotter, and show them the better principles, and everybody will do it. But it's not like that. This is not the quest for truth alone. It is also the very fast organizational transformation is not just about Agile or Beta, which is at the start of the show ultimately. It is also about applying the right principles to the transformation, to the rite of passage from one model that sucks to the other that's better as well. Yeah,
great.
That's a challenge.
That's a challenge. So this question got upvoted a lot. How does OpenSpace Beta differ from OpenSpace Agility? So luckily we've got Daniel. We got both of you here on the phone. So how does this differ?
Yes, as I know that Dan is in this session, I will say this: OpenSpace Agility is cool, but OpenSpace Beta is cooler. Yeah, this is just a teaser. OpenSpace Agility is cool if you want to have agility in software development. It's very cool. So you can have hundreds or thousands of software developers, and with OpenSpace Agility, you will get much better results than with other implementation approaches, which would typically involve lots of consultants, lots of coaches, lots of Scrum Masters, external people, over and over and over, and it would take forever, and you will never, probably in the traditional approach, approaches which involve imposition, you will never get people to actually self-organize, because you cannot create self-organization by imposition. It's impossible. It is why Daniel Mezek and I promote this notion of invite, not impose. Very essential. So OpenSpace Agility is perfect if your focus is just software development. But if you want to transform entire organizations, OpenSpace Agility, I think, will not suffice. I'm unsure of that, because the framework is very similar to OpenSpace Beta. But in OpenSpace Beta, one of the things that took us quite a long time was to figure out how to what would be the change methods throughout the 90 days, especially that you need to apply to transform all kinds of functions, areas, people like salespeople, finance people, HR, marketing, production, whatever it is. And of course, with production, you can take lean methodology. With Agile, you can use Scrum and Kanban and all that kind of stuff. With production people, there's a lot of methodology available. But if you do not change the practices of HR and finance and so on, then you will never transform an entire organization in a very short time frame. So there are a couple of distinctions or differences between OpenSpace Agility and OpenSpace Beta that I think you will see them when you look at the timelines. You can look at the OpenSpace Agility timeline online and take a look at the OpenSpace Beta timeline, and you will see the distinctions, conceptual distinctions. They will probably jump at you. The framework, OpenSpace, 19 days in between, all that. Also, the roles are fundamentally the same. The roles, you need the roles of a sponsor, you need the role of the process Gandalf and so on, the master of ceremonies. You need something like technical coaching in the 90 days fundamentally to support the organization with certain concepts. So the role concept of the two transformational approaches that we're talking about is the same, but there are certain specifics that you would not need in OpenSpace Agility and that you need in OpenSpace Beta.
Thank you.
Cover entire organizations, including salespeople and strange people, not software developers, really strange people.
So yes, I see that there's a coaching role here in your book also, which would probably make a lot of sense. Very happy.
Yes, where you guys come into play.
That's right, yes. We are probably lots of Agile coaches on this call.
Yes, but Agile coaches, experienced Agile coaches, such as also Daniel Mezek and you guys, of course, you could be well-suited material to slip into the Master of Ceremonies role. Agile coaches with a little bit more experience, with some gray hairs, ideally, they are well suited for being Master of Ceremonies. Agile coaches with more experience, they can well do that kind of work. And that's also, that's very valuable work. It will be very valuable work over the last couple of years. When organizations move seriously into OpenSpace Agility and OpenSpace Beta, we need Masters of Ceremonies. Already now, just a few months after publishing our book, here in Germany, we have a couple of companies beginning with OpenSpace Beta. So we are seriously thinking about, okay, where do the Masters of Ceremony come from? As a Master of Ceremony, you cannot have several clients doing full-fledged transformation at a given time. And even though the process is short, very fast, you need a couple of people capable of doing that. And that's why people like those watching this podcast are probably, they should think about getting ready to become Masters of Ceremonies, which is totally different from being a consultant and blabbing out solutions all the time. Being the Master of Ceremonies means not to give fast answers, not to solve every problem, but just to be the process Gandalf. The real sponsor in Tolkien's Hobbit journey, who is it? Do you know who it is? Who is the sponsor in The Hobbit?
I do not know.
It's not Gandalf. It's not Gandalf. And it's not the Hobbit dude. Who is it? That's his name.
Council?
I don't know. Anyone know?
The council there, I've heard what they call it.
It's a dwarf, that I can give you. In The Hobbit, in the story The Hobbit, one of the dwarves is the sponsor. I mean, it's basically about the dwarves reconquering their kingdom, right? But who's the sponsor dwarf? His name is Thorin Oakenshield.
Okay.
He's a sponsor. So you should go back and watch the movies or read the book. I've read it a couple of times. So if to understand OpenSpace Agility and OpenSpace Beta, it's worth watching the movies again. Thorin Oakenshield is the sponsor. He's the person who can invite everyone to make the trip to the mountain where the dragon is infesting their old kingdom. And Gandalf comes along to be the master of ceremonies. And then they have a coach, in a way. Now I'm stretching the metaphor a bit, but in a way, they invite the Hobbit, who is it, Frodo, as a coach, in a way. This is not a very good, it's not a super fitting metaphor, but it works a little bit.
He doesn't know he's the coach.
So this is how it works. Yes. And never take away, that's what I wanted to say, never disempower Thorin Oakenshield. Never take away power from Thorin Oakenshield, because that will mess it all up. So as an Agile coach, I'm not quite sure how you work, but you might give the client solutions for everything, and the Master of Ceremonies cannot do that. The Master of Ceremonies must focus on guiding the rite of passage, providing safe passage throughout the 90 days and beyond, the whole rite of passage that we outline in OpenSpace Agility and in OpenSpace Beta.
I like that phrase of safe rite of passage. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, we got that from Daniel Messick too. The notion of the rite of passage. Transformation must be a transformational ritual, like growing up from childhood to adulthood. It must be dramatic. It must hurt. It will hurt. It does not need to hurt, but it will hurt. All strange kinds of stuff will happen. Like having sex for the first time. That's part of the rite of passage between childhood and adulthood. And the strange things will happen throughout the rite of passage that is OpenSpace Beta. Yeah, strange things will happen. That's why the sponsor must really, really want it.
Yep.
That's one of them.
Thank you. So does transforming through OpenSpace Beta mean transforming to a teal organization per Frederick Laloux's Reinventing Organizations?
Teal was mentioned, that I heard. Can
Yes.
you repeat the question?
Yes. So when we're transforming through OpenSpace Beta, does that mean that our goal is to transform to a teal organization as Frederick Laloux's Reinventing Organizations?
Yes, teal teal is probably not as clearly principled as is the Agile Manifesto or the BetaCodex. Check it out yourself. Teal is consistent, I think, with Beta, but it's not exactly the same because it's not, the principles are more fuzzy, I would say. Nothing against the work of Frederick Laloux, but what Frederick says is he's not sure if transformation is possible, how long it will take, it could take forever and so on. And we say exactly the opposite. Beta organizations exist. We have seen quite a few of them, like Toyota, Southwest Airlines, DM Dolmerimarkt here in Germany, Handelsbanken, the Swedish bank, WL Gore. So we know that beta organizations exist. We also know how to transform them. We know the set of principles behind beta or this kind of teal organization. So you can call it teal, but it's important that the model that you move to collectively throughout the rite of passage is very clear and defined by principles.
Mm-hmm.
We outline this in the OpenSpace Beta book as well, the importance of principles in this. That is like, if you look at, most of you live in the US, if you look at American democracy, we see that the electorate can be quite feeble in making good choices as to elect a president. But the robustness of the institutions is very important. And it's the robustness of the American Constitution, for example, that guarantees that America will prevail even in dire times with feeble presidents. Similarly, if you want to do organizational transformation, we need a robust set of principles to move to. That is paramount. You need process principles, let's say, or principles that allow you to do this rite of passage in very short time frame. But you also need a strong model to move to. Like the Agile Manifesto is pretty strong in that sense. The Scrum Guide, I think, is pretty strong and pretty robust. And with Thiel, I think it's not as well formulated. I wish that Frederick would soon publish a second book outlining what he thinks should be the real principles. But I think the principles are already there, and we call them Beta or the BetaCodex.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's a couple questions.
By the way, another set of principles, just a second, another set of principles that is very good is lean. Lean, as defined by Edward Deming, is defined by, let's say, 14 principles, as he says. There's a set of 14 dogmas or principles. That's also very good, and that's also very to the point and very broad. It's even broader than the Agile principles, I would say. Yeah. So all these concepts are viable or feasible. It's just important to get the principles right. You can call it Thiel or Lean or Agile or Beta, as you like. But the principles must be outlined early on, let's say in the invitation, the latest, to do the transformation within just 90 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Thank you. So I think we have time for one more question. The question top on the list is about resistance to transformation from middle management. Maybe movement status.
I love that.
A question that you love.
Yes. Resistance. Yes. What about it?
What about resistance to transformation from middle management because they will lose their status?
And middle management. Yeah. Okay. Good. So the first thing that I have to pick on, that I have to, of course, mention here is that resistance to change does not exist. Resistance to change is a misconception, a myth or a prejudice about other people, basically. So while resistance to change does not exist, and I wrote a couple of articles about that, and we wrote a recent white paper called Change as Flipping, which you find on SlideShare and on BetaCodex.org. So, okay, resistance to change does not exist. I mean, what we think was resistance to change in our professional lives is usually just, upheaval against bullshit methods that we impose upon people. People do not resist change, they resist bullshit method. Yeah. So sometimes it seems like they resist us, but we shouldn't take it personally. It's just feeble methods that we use, and we deserve all this shit that we get. Now, if we get the conditions right, and I think in OpenSpace Beta and OpenSpace Agility, we can create the right conditions, then there shouldn't be any resistance. However, and this was the question, I think what the question you asked was really about, what about middle managers? Okay, there are several answers to it. First, in a beta organization, there is no reason for middle management to exist. In a radically decentralized, this is a hypothesis, it's tough to swallow, I understand, but in a beta organization, radically decentralized, you do not need middle managers. And this is not bad news for middle managers, it's good news for middle managers because those people can return to work and value creation. It sounds harsh, but it isn't. Middle management is an artifact of command and control bullshit organization. It's let's say a dirty manifestation in organizational command and control pyramids. So if you have middle managers in your organization, it's just a byproduct or a collateral of the wrong organizational model. Now, okay, let's assume we invite the sponsor invites a whole command and control organization, including middle managers, to do very fast organizational transformation within just a few months. Of course, those middle managers that you have will ask a decent question, which is, oh, where does it leave me? So this must be addressed. Yeah. This is it, and it's not resistance. I wouldn't call a plausible, a sensible reaction to where does it leave me. That's not resistance to change at all. It's just a necessary topic to be dealt with. And of course, you have to offer those people, let's say middle managers, a perspective of what they will be doing, what kind of roles they will be assuming in beta or an agile organization. So we should never classify people as resistors and neither manage middle managers. But of course, there's a huge, in very fast organizational transformation, the real problem is not coders. The guy who codes all the, like how I imagine real software developers coding all the time. It's just a cliche, I know, but imagine a coder or somebody who works on the production line on the shop floor. Or let's imagine a person who does project work in a building company the whole day, most of the time. So those people are not the challenge in terms of getting along with organization transformation. The biggest issues will be what we call formally authorized managers, or let's say top managers and so-called middle managers in a traditional organization. They will have to change. Their roles will have to change substantially. So it is sensible also to tackle that patiently, constructively, one by one if necessary. And of course, in the OpenSpace Beta transformation that we are, that Silke and I are dealing with, this is one of the main concerns to address. Okay, because if you have middle managers, for each and every one of them, I mean, men or women, one of the questions will be, what kind of role will you assume? Will you just go back to being an expert? Will you still have some kind of team responsibility or not? What will you do? What kind of roles will you assume? And usually those roles will change.
Thank you.
But it will not be resistance.
Thank you.
This is just things that we should work on. Yeah? Serious business, serious stuff. Serious transformational work is addressing everybody's worries as well.
So, wow.
But the good news is, after 90 days, we will not have any more middle managers. We will not have any need for middle managers. And ever again after OpenSpace Beta Ritual, when we move to a beta organization, no more middle management, and not ever. That's the best. And you don't need consulting either. It's very unlikely that in a beta organization you will need consultants. So,
yeah.
Brave new world.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for this amazing hour. Really went so quickly. Thanks for the lovely chat. And yeah, this video, of course, will be posted. Please join, look at openleadershipnetwork.com, find out what we're doing over there. Maybe we'll see you in Boston, hopefully. So I'll definitely see you, Niels and Daniel, in Boston and next week.
Yes.
So
thanks, Niels. Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you for the chat.